everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nabs Effect podcast. I'm your host, Naveen Gaglani. Thanks for joining me. If you guys are tuning in live right now at 10:38 in the evening, much appreciated. If you're a returning listener, thank you for giving this podcast another chance to earn your airwaves. And if you happen to be a new listener, we hope that you'll be tuning in for the long haul. Joining me tonight will be Karl Batungbacal. He's been joining me for a lot of this UAAP men's basketball season, which I'm very thankful for. Of course, Carl has provided some really great insights every time he's come on here in this podcast and some hot predictions, shall we say, from time to time. Um, so I found it fitting that we should have Carl on to discuss game one of the UAP Finals, a game that was electric, competitive, exciting, a little bit unpredictable, but definitely a whole lot of fun and kind of encapsulates why we love the UAP and why we love to do what we do, which is podcast here about the UAP. And again, shout out to everyone tuning in live. I see that Edward is already on. So, Carl, just your overall thoughts right now so far after watching game one. What did you think? I mean, what were your key takeaways?
First key takeaway is I'm happy that I don't have any stakes in this game because it was a good one. It was a really, really good one because my team is out. As you know, the Ateneo Blue Eagles are not in the Final Four or they're not in the playoffs even or even in the finals. So I'm enjoying. It was a good game, actually. Surprisingly, an electric first quarter. And then we saw a massive game from Harold Alarcon. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later, I'm pretty sure. And then we have the Jacob Cortez early legacy game in the UAAP. So, good game
Ooh.
overall.
Early legacy game. Very interesting. Now, before I continue, a big thank you to our friends over at Cooper's Coffee House. My guy Alec definitely enjoyed how that game one played out. Um, and he probably is going to celebrate with an Americano tomorrow at Cooper's. I might just order myself a brown butter latte because I haven't had that in a while. So, Cooper's Coffee House, you guys check out their branch at BGC and you guys check out their branches all over the metro, including Wanayala, SM Mega Mall, to name a few. And also a big thank you to our friends over at Daily Fantasy. If you guys haven't yet registered to Daily Fantasy, the link to register is in the description box of this episode. You get the bonus by using my referral code. I put it in the description box as well. Big prices on the line in some games that I'm indicating in the ticker of this episode right now if you're watching on video. A lot on the line, actually. Put that fantasy knowledge to the test, and trust me, you just might be very thankful for it. Okay, so I think fair to say, Carl, that UP was in control for most of that game. I'm not sure if you'd agree with me on that. First quarter it was a little bit more DLSU on top, and then I thought that towards the end of the first quarter, however, when Harold Alarcon started to get going, and then second period he continued that hot spree, and then third period when UP went up by as much as 9, they seemed like they were in the driver's seat. And DLSU slowly clawed their way back, end of the third, and then in the fourth quarter, it became a back and forth haymaker contest. And at this point, that's now 3 straight times DLSU has outplayed UP in the clutch in a late fourth quarter situation. This game meant more than the other two games, obviously, because this is the finals. But I would say there was some confidence built up for LaSalle from those first two games in the elimination round. And the way they proceeded to battle against UP in those final minutes seemed like a team that was comfortable in that kind of situation. They showed a lot of mental fortitude, and it eventually paid off. Here they are now, 1 win away from winning a UAP championship.
Well, when you mentioned that UP had the momentum early on, let's not say UP and let's be honest. Let's just say it was Harold Alarcon.
With a little Jerry Abadiano spring. If Harold Alarcon was the pasta, then maybe Abadiano and Naruka were like the sauce and the giniling and the veggies on top, right?
Yeah, for the most part, sige, I'll give them that. They were the ano tawag dun sa food like yung extra seasoning ba. It makes sense. It makes sense. But the main ingredient was Harold Alarcon. He was everywhere for UP and he was at his best in this game. I think a lot of people forgot that Harold Alarcon is the engine that keeps UP going this season. And to a certain degree, Remogat did surpass him a lot for most of the season. But when it came in the clutch, I expected it to be a Harold Alarcon game, but not to this degree. Not to him dropping 34 points on the U and the DLSU Green Archers, but yun yung problem with UP. They were lacking elsewhere. Like Harold Alarcon was the main star of the show, and that was expected. But everything else medyo lacking ang UP this game.
So let's take a look at the stats real quick. Harold Alarcon's 34 points in a little under 30 minutes is the second, well, the most points scored in a finals game since, and you'd know this, Carl, 30 Ravenna had 38 in 2018 against UP when he was in the middle of leading Ateneo to their second out of three straight titles. He also had 2 rebounds and 2 assists, 4 turnovers for Alarcon. Other than him, the only other guy to score double figures was Francis Naruka, who had 13 points and 75% shooting, had 6 rebounds. More on Naruka later because that's something I want to touch on. Abadiano had 8 points and 4 of 9 shooting, and Raylan Torres 7 points, 3 of 6 shooting. When Raylan Torres had those 5 straight points in the third period, I thought for a second that might have been the moment where UP would break the dam and the flood would come, which made LaSalle's comeback even more impressive. As a team, the Fighting Maroons shot 44.4% from the field. They were only 4 of 17 from 3-point range, 10 out of 16 from the foul line, 39 rebounds compared to LaSalle's 40. LaSalle had 12 turnovers, UP had 16 turnovers. So LaSalle slightly wins the possession battle there. LaSalle takes 2 more field goal attempts. LaSalle took 25 free throw attempts, made only 11. So just imagine if they didn't end up winning this game and that free throw discussion became apparent, shall we say. But overall for DLSU, 44.6% from the field, very close to UP. 5 out of 20 from downtown, very close as well. Jacob Cortez, 21 points, 10 of 15 field goal shooting. Doy Dumo having the best game of his UAAP career considering the stakes. 15 points and 5 of 8 shooting, and they really needed him in that first half. Mike Phillips limited to just 7 points, 9 rebounds. Marasigan with 7 points, Baklaan with 9 points. Luis Pablo, 7 points, 3 of 10 shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 blocks. You see that stat line and you think, yeah, that's okay. But when you consider when he did his most impact, you just have to, that's highlighted and that's magnified because he was very essential, DLSU winning this game. So from a statistic standpoint, it was fairly even. A lot of close nip and tuck between both teams. Now, it came down to execution in the later stages of the final quarter, like it has in their last 2 games. And once again, DLSU, I think fair to say, Carl, they were the more poised team. Am I right to say that?
Boys, yes, and I would think that UP had the supposed championship experience because this UP team, you have Harold Alarcon, you have Raylan Torres, you have Terence Fortea and Jerry Abadiano. That's supposed to be the core that's supposed to make UP run, but for whatever the case may be in this game, it just didn't work against DLSU. Now, granted, DLSU was on fire, courtesy of Jacob Cortez. That's the thing that I would say. I think Naps rose. All right, here we go. E-back. You good?
Yes, sir. I'm good. Don't worry. I'm ready.
Just double checking. But anyways, back to Jacob Cortez. Jacob Cortez has taken over the DLSU Green Archers office, and that was something that I've been wanting him to see, and I was expecting him to see from him in the Final Four, especially in the finals. But now, I think we have to also point out and give flowers to Kian Baklan because Kian Baklan, for the most part, has received a lot of negativity from UAP fans, not just from DLSU fans, not just from UP fans, but as a whole, I've seen the discussions on Kian Baklan that he's going to be the worst case for DLSU. He won't be effective. But surprisingly, he was the key to helping DLSU edge out UP in this game. So full credit deserves to go to him as well. So LaSalle, I was expecting them to pound the rock to Mike Phillips in the paint, but credit also goes to UP for stopping that for the most part. And I think that's Coach Tom Chua, or was it Coach Eric Gonzalez? Either one of the two. I'm forgetting which one. But neutralizing Mike Phillips gave them a very, very good shot at winning this game. It also helps that Harold Alarcon went for 34. And, just a lot of breaks went the DLSU's way. So it really could have gone either way for the first time, I would say.
For a moment there, it looked like Harold Alarcon was gonna have his masterpiece, ultimate masterpiece, because we've seen performances like this before from him. His career high of 34 today beat his career high of 33 last season, which he did against UE at the Phil Oil Arena. And he compiled those points in a similar way, pull up jump shots, driving to the rim, floaters. I mean, I mentioned this in one of the recent pods a few weeks ago that I think he's the best one-on-one isolation wing scorer that we've seen since Kiefer Ravenna, and I stand by that. This game is proof of that. The question to ask, and we're gonna get more into this in a little bit, is for all the greatness of Alarcon through the whole game, but mostly in the first half, did that set UP up for not exactly the most efficient offense down the stretch of the game? Because I felt they should have gone to Naruka more. Now, granted, you can never go wrong with giving the ball to someone who has the most points scored in a finals game since 30 Ravenna, right? I mean, that's just nitpicking at that point. But some might argue that's a legit case because, and even Coach Goldwyn alluded to this after the game in the post game press conference, that at their best, UP is a team that's beating you collectively and as a squad and not just relying on one or two individual scorers.
No, and I think that's fair because UP is a team that enjoys attacking from all angles. Sometimes it's Raylan Torres that will chip in with 12. Sometimes it's Jacob Bela with 8. So I think that level of scoring from UP overall, I think we missed seeing that in this game because if they were able to get everyone else involved, I don't think the score would be this close. I think they would have pulled away in the third.
So let's take a look at the game. I took down some notes and I want to know your thoughts as I mentioned this as well. Here are the key points that I jotted down. This time, not on my notepad, guys. I just had to use my notes app on my phone, which honestly, sometimes I prefer pen and paper for some reason. It just feels very, I guess, traditional, brings me back to a more innocent time. But anyway, so first quarter, Dungo with big time shots. Alarcon doing the same for UP. Baklaan looks spry, the best he's looked since he's come back. Now, granted, this is only his third game back. Had that drive and bank shot, also had that step back three pointer. And I wrote this second quarter, Alarcon, WTF, just because I was mesmerized at that point by what he was doing, considering that he looked like the second coming of, like I said, Kiefer Ravenna, but even better to some degree when you compare him to college Kiefer Ravenna. There was one moment here, Carl. I'm not sure if you caught this on TV, but he gets Luis Pablo out on a switch. And literally, right before Alarcon drives to set his defender up, he's smiling at Pablo. Now, maybe some of that is because they did spend some time together at UP. Pablo spent his rookie UAP season with the Fighting Maroons. And in the middle of his attack, he kind of trips, kind of loses the ball, has to balance himself while turning around, goes up and still makes the shot. And at that point, you're thinking, and many others are thinking, both from the LaSalle and UP side, that it just might be one of those games, right? And then he kept scoring through the second period. LaSalle couldn't score. There was a stretch when they went very cold there in the second period. However, UP was unable to capitalize. And that was a stretch where UP turned the ball over quite often. Now, at halftime, UP is up by 3. They're shooting 47% from the field at this point, while the Archers are at 40.6%. Alarcon has 20 points and 80% shooting. It was a game of styles. It felt like UP was trying to push the pace, trying to play fast, sometimes not always to the best of results. Meanwhile, LaSalle, you just saw them slowing it down, right? Bringing it down slowly. Jacob Cortez, they would cross the half court line with like 17, 18 seconds left on the shot clock. They were trying to make it a cerebral possession battle, shall we say. Okay, third period, like I mentioned, DLSU is starting to unravel. UP goes up by 9. And then Jacob Cortez makes a tough N1 play where he double clutches, banks it off the glass, and makes it. And then again, deceleration where he slows down and waits for the defender to kind of get off balance and put up a short shot. That kept LaSalle afloat. And then in the fourth period, we get there later on. That's where Pablo makes his presence felt. He makes his first shot on a putback attempt over Naruka. And then his second shot was off a drop off pass by Mike Phillips. And then his third shot, the go ahead shot that put DLSU up 70 to 68, was that floater over Naruka again. He also had one free throw and he had two big blocks, one on Alarcon and one on Abadiano, both of them when they got to the rim, and he was able to stop their progress. UP scored just one field goal in the final 5.5 minutes of the game. That was the breakaway Alarcon layup after LaSalle had missed a few shots to put the game on ice. And then later on, LaSalle ends up missing 4 free throws. Marcigan misses 2 free throws down the stretch. Phillips misses 2 more free throws. But UP just cannot score. They go ice cold. And that's the game. LaSalle's able to close them out. It was a combined effort. Obviously, the biggest shot of the game is with LaSalle up 171 to 70. And Jacob Cortez sets himself up for a dagger three-pointer that's going to be replayed for years and years and years to come. But again, ultimately, it just goes back down to execution, and it felt like at the end of that game, LaSalle executed better.
No, as I said, I think it's a breaks of the game type of game for both teams because you would think that in the finals, both teams would be at their absolute best. Not in terms of star power, but because of you would expect the usual suspects. You would expect Mike Phillips to be the main man for LaSalle. You would expect UP to go to Alarcon and Remogat, which they did in the first quarter. But after the first quarter, for some reason, whether it was DLSU checking Ray Remogat or UP just moving away from Remogat overall, it was a different UP and LaSalle type of game because I was there for the round two matchup where LaSalle practically hawked down or walked down UP to get that win in the clutch. So I don't I don't think it was a how should I say it? I think it's a game that UP could have won, or they should have won at least. If this was a regular season game, I think they would have won it. Maybe my nerves possibly on Remogat's side because he was shooting what? Ray Remogat, let's pull up his numbers here really quickly. Ray Remogat, 1 of 8, 1 of 5 from 2, 0 of 3 from 3. So this is not the Remogat that lit the world on fire in the elimination round. So it's a different strategy, siguro, for UP, not to rely on Remogat, but he's your lead guy. Eh? You have to get him going early to force the DLSU defense to go out on the perimeter more. So I think that was a struggle for UP in this game.
Yeah, Remogat was kind of MIA. I mean, part of that is for Ray to be at his best, you need to put the ball in his hands. Remember when UP started the season 0-2, one of the adjustments they made to get back on the winning track was to let Ray's usage increase a little more, let him run the actions, let him push the pace, find openings in transition. But today, I guess it was also by necessity because Alarcon had it going. Abadiano was, streaky, yes, but also making some impact early on. And that just kind of left Ray as the third, sometimes fourth fiddle because even Fortea had his moments. Torres had his moments as well. So it's a mix of, yes, they're not utilizing him in the way that is best for his performance or where he can make the most impact. But at the same time, if you're Ray Remogat and this is the finals, you're shooting 1 of 8 from the field. Yes, you have 6 rebounds, 4 assists, but 1 of 8, and you played 18 and a half minutes. That's less than half the game, which goes to show that right now your coaching staff doesn't exactly look at you as one of the essential players they have to put out there on the court. There were also some mistakes that, I thought were pretty glaring, like the very long range shot that I think it was near the logo that thought it looked like it was going to be a bank shot, but it was too strong. And then the no look pass where I think he tried to throw it up over his head to get it to a cutting player. And LaSalle read it perfectly, and it ended up leading to 2 LaSalle points when it could have extended UP's lead further. Like, is it fair to ask that UP should be expecting more out of Ray, and at this point, he has to be accountable as a player for his performance?
To a certain degree, I would agree. But this is the playoff. This is the final four. Sorry, hindi pala playoffs. Final four finals, UAP finals. So Remogat is. Do I want to say it like that? Remogat is not used to it yet. Let's just say that he's not used to the high stakes games yet. To this certain
So
degree,
you,
yeah.
so you're saying UE Ray Remogat showed up today, not UP Ray Remogat.
No, he showed up as first two games Ray Remogat in this game. Like he's good. Ray Remogat is good. Let's not get it twisted. Pero kanina it just parang he wasn't him eh. Like something was off about him. Siguro body language, that's one. The other, parang he was trying to be flashy for no good reason. Like flashy is fine. Alam ko highlight reels are very very fun to look at, pero you don't make those passes in the final four. You make good decisions.
The
You take it
finals pa,
slow.
not just the final four.
Sorry,
But
I
yeah.
keep saying final four kaya nga eh. So
It's
the
okay.
finals,
Technically, the
sorry.
finals are part of the final four, but go on, yeah.
I mean, now it's the final two, so it's the finals. So, no, pero Remogat kanina, he wasn't himself. I think baka jitters. And for what it's worth, I think it's better he had the jitters now than to get it in game two. Whether they won or they lost, sige, okay na. Forgivable, I can understand. But game two, Remogat, dapat iba eh. It has to be late round one, the entirety of round two, Remogat. If UP wants to claw back from down 1-0.
So we have a question here from Nixon. What do you think on Marasigan, who got hurt and Baklahan replaced him for a free throw? To answer your question, under FIBA rules, it's not like the NBA where you have to be able to take the free throw to stay in the game. In FIBA rules, you could sub out, someone takes the free throw for you, and check back in later. And when I asked Voris about it, he said, because at first I thought it was his head, and that's a little concerning because, with the rise of concussions in sports, you can never be too safe. But he actually said it was his back that hurt, but he should be fine, and you can expect him to play in game two because, like, our commenter said, he did come back in the game. And by the way, to everyone tuning in live, send in your comments if you guys have any questions. Carl and I would be happy to answer them. And just let us know your thoughts as well. Would love to hear it. Now, Carl, I've been critical of Coach Topex Robinson of the DLSU Green Archers in the past. I think I've been fair, I would say. I've given him praise and I've given him some criticism over his now 3-year stretch coaching DLSU. But I have to give him his flowers for today's game for two decisions. One was resting Jacob Cortez when he did and not being quick to pull the plug out that's connected. Because if you look at when LaSalle made that game defining run, it was Baklaan who was in the court with Pablo and Phillips, and that combo was working. And sometimes when you're a head coach, you can get tempted to pull the plug on the combo even if it's working because you want to stick with your rotation, get your guys back in there. He played it out. He played it through. I had LaSalle fans near me because I got to watch a game at Mo Arena today. He was saying, eto na naman, parang KQ na naman last season. Si Cortez, ibalik niya na. But then, it worked out to his favor, right? And later on, Jacob Cortez makes the biggest shot of the game, the dagger. When that shot went in, it felt like LaSalle had won the game. And you can't confirm this for a fact, but maybe one of the reasons why he was able to pull off that move and make that shot was because he got adequate amount of rest while he was on the bench. I mean, it could be connected, right?
I mean, Jacob Cortez only played 23 minutes. Let's just leave it out there. Jacob Cortez 23 minutes, Kian Baklan 17. So I think I would say a lot of those 17 minutes for Kian Baklan was when Jacob Cortez was on the bench. Now our good friend Vic was having a heart attack the whole time. Those entire 17 minutes, I
I
was
thought I was
there.
gonna have an aneurysm. Yeah.
Now he was panicking because I can understand the panic for a lot of fans, especially for DLSU fans, and seeing Kian Baklan there in extended minutes. I can kind of understand why, because there are moments where Kian tends to not not be in the spotlight, or like he tends to shrink in the spotlight. That's not meant to demean him, but it was just a fact that Kian didn't show up sometimes in those big moments. But now, sorry, I just saw the comment. Now, but Kian kanina, he showed flashes of the NU Bulldog that lit the world and the UAP on fire as the playmaking scorer that knew when to get his shots, when to get everyone else going, but also at least have that effort on defense to show up and give at least Jacob Cortez some extended rest. Because that three that you pointed out, the Dagger three, if I'm remembering correctly, Jacob Cortez was fresh off the bench. You don't do that. Normally, you don't. So full props to Kian for at least for showing up. Very, 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 very good game from him. Jacob Cortez is a monster. Let's just keep it real.
One of a kind. I always thought his dad was 100% better than he was, but I might have to rethink that. They attack in different ways, but Jacob is making me rethink that. Anyway, I want to get to the play that you mentioned about the final shot, right? And this goes back again to giving Topex his flowers and his credit. If you go look at the diagram of the play, yes, it's mostly the brilliance of Cortez, the ability to hit that step back jumper, have the balance to pull up and still knock it in. And by the way, when you look at Jacob's step back, it's not like he just plants his whole foot and then goes for the step back. He kind of slants the side of his foot to like create more space and then use that to get himself upright right away and pull up for the 3-point shot. And that takes a lot of hard work and incredible fitness, which is a testament to, as Jacob said in the post-game press conference, that he works on that shot every single day. He puts in extra reps and practice to work on that particular shot. And also the work that Migs Aitona and the SNC staff have done to get the most out of LaSalle's fitness. But even before that shot, kita mo na clear out right? It was a clear out play. All four other guys of DLSU are on the weak side. Jacob Cortez has the strong side. Now, there are a few things that happened before Jacob makes a shot. One, Marasigan, who's being guarded by Alarcon, just kind of does this stutter where he's like, he pretends he's going to move for like half a second. And Alarcon is like that. And then right after Marasigan does that, Pablo, who's Pablo being guarded at that point? I think it's either Naruka or Stevens. Might have been Stevens. Pablo comes out, and it seems like he's going to give a screen to Cortez. And then suddenly, he slips going towards the rim. And then right after that, as Pablo is slipping to the rim, Phillips comes out, and he gives a screen. And then Naruka or Stevens, whoever was guarding him at that point, comes out to follow. So there's starting to be some confusion there, right? I don't know if it was Topex or Kaloy Garcia who diagrammed that play, but it worked out really well. And then Cortez, as Phillips is coming to him, it looks like he's about to use the screen, but then he rejects the screen instead and goes back to the empty strong side corner. And then he utilizes his step back against Raylan Torres, who's a good defender. Like I said, the balance was there, the rhythm was there. All you had to do was pull up, knocks it in, ring, it goes in.
And that's the same. And I won't say it's the same shot, but it's a similar shot to how he did it against my Blue Eagles that hurt my heart, because I have a photo of that. I was taking pictures in that game for Humble Bola, and when I was looking through the screen, I was like, this is gonna be a Jacob Cortez shot that will hurt my heart whether he makes it or he doesn't, because it looks way too good. And then you see the balls just go in. It just Jacob Cortez he's him. Like, I don't like saying it kasi sobrang overplayed na ng he's him, but Jacob Cortez is that guy. And I don't want to call him, ano ba tinawag nila sa kanya sa broadcast? Was it young cat ba? Or was it Cool Cub? I don't remember which one. Pero hindi, he needs to have his own nickname. I think he's earned himself that distinction to have his own unique nickname that isn't at least tied to his dad.
Hmm. How about the king of cool? Kind of mix
Pwede. Parang
cool cub
parang
with king
Rexona ad
archer.
eh. Parang Rexona ad eh.
Hey Rexona, looking for some marketing folks? Um, question here from Joe. Joe, thanks for tuning in. Cardiac Cortez. Okay, that might stick. I like that.
That's
Cardiac
the
Cortez.
win. I like that. I like that.
Let us know if you guys have any nickname recommendations for Jacob Cortez. Send them in the comments. I kind of like the King of Cool for some reason. It sounds simple, but sometimes he just makes the improbable look simple, right? And it's always the same stoic demeanor. Once in a while, he'll put his hands up and he'll scream, but then he'll just chill, The king of chill, maybe. The boy. You had a pause
That is
moment,
on me. I
Carl.
was like,
You.
whoa. Wala
I
akong
can't
Coopers
believe I
today,
missed
bro.
that.
Wala akong Coopers today. I'm so sorry.
How about the cold cat? I like that.
Pwede yung cold cat.
Cold cat.
Hot cat, pwede rin.
Joe asked, "Is Mason still needs to have a breakout game? Do you guys think he will get it in game two?" I don't know. Just looking at the way he's out there on the court, it feels like Baklan has progressed faster than he has, and I guess to some degree it makes sense because Mason is bigger, right? And Mason is as nimble as Baklan was even when they were healthy. He's not using his closeout attack game where if the defenders are going to close out hard on his shot, he'll take 1-2 dribbles, try to get to the rim, which I know is an aspect of his game he really wanted to display this season. And the 3-point shooting just hasn't been accurate enough yet. How many 3-pointers has he hit since he's come back? One or two, maybe? I'm not so sure. I think it might be one. And you can just see he's not going to be 100% until next season, Mason is. But what Mason does contribute right now is just extra spacing, right? I mean, that spacing issue was apparent before he came back when LaSalle was playing Phillips and Pablo together and they were crowding the paint, the defenders were. So Mason just being out there providing that extra spacing, it opens the floor up for guys like Cortez and Baklan and even Phillips to some degree. Jay Cool, Captain Cool. We're getting some great nickname suggestions right now. Okay, Mr. Perfect Atao. Oh, we got our first Xavier Lucero reference. Listen, just to get on that real quick. Now, for full transparency, Xavier is my guy. He's not just someone I cover. He's also become a friend. So I got mad love for Xavier. Always will, and nothing he does or says will change that. But Xavier, man, I know what you're trying to do, and it kind of backfired. At least today, it kind of backfired, Xavier, and you're gonna have to eat hay a little bit from LaSalle fans who, to be honest, LaSalle fans can be petty to some degree, Carl. LaSalle fans are low key super petty too. It just doesn't seem that way because sometimes they act like too cool for school, not literally. um, but there's some pettiness sometimes when it comes to Green Archers fandom. But look, guys, don't go too hard on Xavier. He's a good guy. He was just trying to have some fun. I'm sure he was just trying to trash talk some teammates and coaches in Magnolia. So where were we? I want to get to UP in a bit because I do want to bring up the Naruka aspect of this. One more storyline I want to bring up here about DLSU right now. After the loss to Adamson, and I'm gonna have more details about this in an article I'm gonna write. I might make my writing return to All Star in terms of feature writing. It's been a while. It's been
Yan.
mostly reporting and information articles. But after the Adamson game, the next day at practice, before starting any drills, any workouts, any sets, Coach Topex gathered these players and basically said, I'm seeing that you guys are not having fun anymore while playing the game of basketball. And I don't like that. So he made a simple rule. Forget about wins and losses, forget about the results. Just go out there, have fun, play the game that you love. And that resonated very strongly with the rest of the team. And that's become their mantra the rest of the season. Play with joy, play with fun. Remember, the Warriors back in the day when they were dominating the NBA, that's something Steve Kerr said over and over again. Play with joy. Play the game you loved to play when you were kids. And don't worry about the results. The interesting thing is, the results are showing 5 straight wins. And those 5 wins against UP when UP was trying to go for the 1 seed, against your Ateneo Blue Eagles, a game Ateneo desperately needed, 2 back to the wall games against top seed NU to eliminate them. And now, despite trailing for most of the contests, a come from behind win against UP to get 1 win away from the final. So Coach Topex, another reason to give you praise. You found the philosophical change that got your team running, to the right gears. And yes, it's helped a little bit by Baklan and Amos coming back, but you can just see there's an extra spark in the way DLSU is playing again. Or am I just imagining this, Carl? What do you think?
An extra spark. I think let's call back kasi yung quote mo about topics, about just having fun. It's someone's gonna hate this. It's very Russell Westbrook on the Lakers. It's the meme na win, lose, or draw, just have fun. So Lakers fans, you will understand what I'm saying. If you don't understand, just search it. But I think there's a certain level of quote unquote innocence that you need to play winning basketball, because basketball is a game. It's supposed to be fun, but you're supposed to also win. I think DLSU is starting to have fun. Like, there was pressure on them early because they had some sorry losses throughout the elimination rounds. But then the DLSU of the Final Four and the finals, iba yung vibe eh. So I
Mm.
would agree. I would agree.
Well, we'll see, because game 2 is going to be the hardest game they've had to win this season if they do end up winning it. And we can't discount UP just yet. UP has all the tools to make this a series. I mean, we saw that they nearly won game 1. So let's get to the Fighting Maroons and let's talk about them now, because, again, like I said, you can't blame most of the shot attempts going to Alarcon when he had a hot hand like he did. But with the way Naruka was playing, scoring in the paint, I mean, you can make the case that he outplayed Mike Phillips, at least from a scoring perspective. He should have gotten the ball more, in my opinion. He ended up with 8 shot attempts from the field. That's tied for third with Remogat for most in the team. Just 1 free throw attempt, 6 rebounds. In 32 minutes of action, 13 points. I think if they go to Naruka a little more there in the fourth period or in the second half, not the second half, the fourth period in particular, I think they end up winning this game. What do you think? And let me know also what you guys think in the comments. Should UP have gone to Naruka a little more? How about you, Carl?
I think UP was trying to get Naruka going, but nag-stick na yung bola sa kamay ni Harold Alarcon. And I cannot blame Harold Alarcon for taking the charge and being is there a King Maroon? Sige, for this game there is, for people to understand, because you need that A1 guy to do it for you to win. And Harold Alarcon did that for, my God, 29 minutes and 56 seconds. 34 points. That's more than a point per minute. So, but back to the point, going back to Francis Naruka, getting him going, I think it was a struggle for UP to do so, especially for Ray Remogat and Terence Fertea to a certain degree, because aside from the Harold Alarcon discussion, DLSU's defense was keying in on Francis Naruka for the better part. I think it was always a switch between, I think it was between Luis Pablo and Voris Marasigan, who were tasked with at least not stopping, more of containing Francis Naruka, because you can't stop Francis Naruka to a certain degree. But you can deny him the ball. You can get him tired. You can out physical him from certain points in the game. And that's what we did see in game 1.
But then, isn't the counter to that to get him the ball more on the catch, on the go? So instead of trying to set up a post entry or on isolation. You play ball screen action. The perimeter ball handler attracts two on the ball and get it to Naruka on the catch because he was pretty good finishing even while running to the rim quite a few times.
Yun yung problem, hindi sila nakatakbo to the rim. UP was
That's true.
limited. UP was supremely limited in the transition game because UP, for those who don't haven't watched UP the UP of this season a lot of the games, UP enjoys running. Transition team sila heavily. That's
They
where
love it.
Raylan Torres gets his points, Francis Naruka gets his points, Ray Remogat gets his points. Against DLSU, for whatever reason, nag-slow down si UP. I think for the first, second, and a bit of the third, they were running. UP was. But yung actions mostly, it was going towards Harold Alarcon eh. I don't know if that was a decision by Coach Gold or the coaching staff, or it was a decision in the moment by the team on the floor to bigyan natin kay Harold, let him get going. Bahala na kami, second chance opportunities, which sadly UP did not get because they struggled with getting second chance opportunities. So how do you get going when you can't run?
And that also speaks to the tempo and pace DLSU was trying to play with, where they'd roll the ball up and slowly dribble it down, like I mentioned earlier. And this isn't something new. This is the third time they've done it against UP this season. And so far it's worked. But knowing UP, those guys in the coaching staff, they're going to get back in the lab and they're going to try to formulate another way to attack LaSalle. And now UP's the one in desperation mode. The last time we saw UP in kind of desperation mode was when they started the season 02. Now it was different because that was the start of the elimination round. But when you start 02, of course you need to start piling up wins. And they responded by winning, I believe, their next four straight games. And then winning another six after that. So I think we're gonna see UP respond really strong. In fact, I'm leaning towards them winning game two right now and then this going to a game three. But of course, a lot can happen. And as much as we try to predict stuff, the only real thing we can predict is the unpredictable when it comes to the UAAP. But that's why we love it. That's why we enjoy it. So, quick question, Carl. If not Naruka and not Alarcon, who is most likely for UP to have a big game two that translates to a victory?
Without even thinking, it's Ray Remogat. It has to be. It's not even a question na who else can get it going because Jerry Abadiano will get his minutes, but Jerry is streaky to a certain degree and he's good at it. But if UP wants to win, Ray Remogat has to make the right plays. Ray Remogat has to score at the right time. He will have to not take low go threes as much, even though we know that he loves that shot. But it's the finals. You cannot make those Damian Lillard-esque threes unless completely confident ka. But
No
then,
behind the head passes.
no, definitely no. I'm disappointed you even had to point it out. But you can't afford to do that. You can't afford to do that. So if I was Ray Remogat, get yourself ready. Take the ball out of the hands of Harold Alarcon at times. Shoot the ball. Pero also try to get some fouls in the paint. Get DLS into foul
Mm.
trouble. I think that's gonna be the play for UP in game 2.
Interesting. By the way, quick note. So much of basketball sometimes comes down to risk reward ratio. How much are you willing to risk for reward? And those two Pablo blocks in the fourth quarter, the first against Alarcon and the second against Abadiano. If you watch the replay, he was originally guarding Naruka as the low man help defender. And each time Alarcon and Abadiano got to the rim, he left Naruka and went for the block. The first time against Alarcon, it wasn't as clean a pass possibly to Naruka. The second time, I think Abadiano could have had a drop pass there to Naruka. And, our guy Miles also pointed this out in our group chat. If you're Pablo there, your thinking is probably you've seen these guys try to go for the made shots most of the game, and you're a little more comfortable going for the block, and in turn leaving the big man pseudo wide open, and the risk paid off. Okay, before we move on to our little game, which will be fun, let's ask each other two questions. So, if you're UP and if you're LaSalle, what is your number one reason to be optimistic moving forward and your number one reason to be concerned moving forward? So if you're LaSalle, what concerns you entering game two and what are you optimistic about entering game two? And the same for UP. Do you have an answer?
I think if I'm DLSU, my biggest concern is Kian Baklan getting a little too comfortable. I'm gonna play into Vic's fears
Mm.
here. Our good friend Vic, I will play into his fears. Because Kian Baklan, he got it going today, and I understand why. But I think he just needs to, he has to rein it in for game two because you can get overconfident going into the next game kasi you got it going eh. Medyo maganda performance mo. And it's gonna happen. But he has to know when to turn it on and turn it off in game two.
I see, I see. Okay.
How
So
about
that's
you?
your cause for concern if you're DLSU.
Yes, sir.
My cause for concern, okay, I'll go UP first, is that you weren't able to win the game where Mike Phillips wasn't his usual efficient self against the Fighting Maroons. Because if you look at the stats, typically Mike Phillips has big games against UP. This was a game where he was limited to 7 points and 2 of 5 shooting, and LaSalle still won. Now, granted, a lot of that had to do with the swarming defense of the Fighting Maroons. Every time Phillips had the ball close to the rim in the paint, you had 2 or 3 UP guys ready to swipe at him, prevent him from getting an easy layup. The one time they didn't do that was that slip to the rim. I thought Tyler Teo did a good job pointing this out where Cortez threads the needle, gets past to Phillips, he dunks, and he makes a big shot in the fourth quarter. But you can't keep Mike Phillips limited for so long, and that you didn't win the game where you did get to limit him to some degree is a little bit concerning. All right, you're next. Give me your reason to be optimistic for LaSalle.
Reason to be optimistic for LaSalle. Doy Dungo. Doy Dungo show out game in the first quarter. Or was it the first? Yeah, it was the first quarter. Because you're gonna need the quote unquote others. And I hate calling them others because I think that's demeaning to the players. Pero for a basketball conversation, sige, let's keep it at that. You're gonna need your quote unquote others to step up. And Doy Dungo did just that. So he keeps it going to in game two. I think it's gonna be a more comfortable win for DLSU than this one.
Interesting. Okay, okay. So for UP, reason to be optimistic. You're only gonna get a better Gani Stevens performance than what he was able to perform in game one. Because if you look at the numbers, Gani Stevens in 23 minutes, 0 points, 0 of 2 field goals, 6 rebounds, -6. Now I thought that they did a pretty good job limiting LaSalle's offensive rebounds, at least for the first 3 quarters. And Gani was one of the reasons why. If he wasn't rebounding the ball, he was boxing out Phillips and carving out space for his teammates to get boards. So you you assume he'd be able to continue that kind of hustle plays and effort, and you also imagine at least he'd not give you another 0 point performance, which can only help UP in game two. Okay, what's your reason to be concerned if you're UP? And by the way, to those tuning in right now, let us know in the comments what you guys think too. We'd love to know your answers.
If I was UP, what would I be most concerned about going to game two? What if Francis Naruka never gets it going? He's stuck at 13 points. Because you're gonna need someone big to contend with LaSalle on both ends of the floor. Francis Naruka, I think this is one of the bigger topics heading into the finals because LaSalle had no problems pounding the paint against UP in the first two matchups in the season. I was hoping it was going to be different in the finals. It was kind of different, but butas pa rin yung gitna for UP because aside from Gani Stevens, who else would you trust? Because Sean Alter played 12 minutes earlier, and the best way I can describe it is he was abused by DLSU on the floor. And what what do you do if you're UP? You hope Francis Naruka gets better? I hope he does. Please.
Okay, my reason to be concerned about if you're LaSalle is a tale as old as time. It's a free throw shooting. He got away with it this time. Horrendous free throw performance. Still won by 4 somehow. Also, despite a magnificent Alarcon showing. But you're not gonna get away with missing clutch free throws forever, and missing free throws throughout the game. And like I said, they were able to get away with it in game one, but it could easily be the reverse in game two. All right, what's your reason to be optimistic if you're UP?
If I'm UP, reason to be optimistic. They almost won eh. Like I think that would be the biggest thing. Because of aside take away the Harold Alarcon points because that's gonna be a given. I think it's gonna be another Harold Alarcon showcase in game two. I think they can beat LaSalle in game two if God, aside from Remogat because I've talked about him long enough. I think aside from him and Francis Naruka, I think Raylan Torres has to be on offense a little bit more. Because earlier he had that clutch three that I thought, uy, lalamang ang UP. It's gonna be over for LaSalle. But somehow it didn't. But it has to be either Raylan Torres or Jerry Abadiano. They have to shoot more. 22 shots for Harold Alarcon out of the 63 that they had for game one. Medyo, medyo one-third yun. Ah. I think that's a little too much, but I think out of necessity, sige, sure. Pero I think it's gonna be a more balanced outing for UP because they know what LaSalle gives them. And to Coach Goldwyn's credit, his greatest performances are always in the bounce backs or in the adjustment games. So I think it's gonna be a more dangerous UP team in game two.
Interesting too because it's the first time under Coach Goldwyn that they did not win game one of the UAAP Finals. So that makes me more interested to see how they react in game two. My reason to be optimistic if you're DLSU is it seems at this point Jacob Cortez, his mind is working in ways that he can solve whatever defense is thrown at him. And that gives you a safety net if you're LaSalle. That even when things are going bad, like they were earlier, you can give him the ball and you can be confident that he will find ways to figure it out. And figure it out he has for consecutive matches now. So yeah. Again, let us know in the comments what you guys think. Reasons to be concerned and optimistic for both teams. Karl, what's your prediction? Game two and game three, if it even goes to a game three for you.
Game two, I think it's gonna be. Ayoko kasi betting against LaSalle in this situation because ang ganda na ng momentum eh. Pero for something in my heart, like I can feel na it's gonna be a UP game, but it's gonna be this close. Like it's gonna be about 2-3 points close. It's not gonna be a blowout like what I initially thought in game one was gonna be in favor of UP. I was thinking UP was gonna take game one, but I think that's gonna come out in game two. So it's gonna be close. So it's gonna be UP in game two. So with that tied one apiece, I think it's gonna be a LaSalle title. And na naman,
Yeah.
Carl with the predictions na naman. There we go.
Well, I'm on the same boat with you. I think UP takes game two, and then I think LaSalle closes it out in game three. My prediction before the final started was whoever wins game one takes the series, and I'm sticking with that right now. All right, so Carl and I are now gonna play a little game, a little draft game. He doesn't know I'm gonna surprise him once again, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. And those tuning in, again, thanks to everyone still watching, even if it's past 11:30 at night already. You guys can join along as well. So, Carl, we're gonna do a draft.
Okay.
10 players for UP, and 10 players for LaSalle. So we pick 5 for each team.
Okay.
Now, funny comment here from Gian regarding Carl's prediction. But anyway, nasaktan ka ba, Carl, to say that you have LaSalle winning the series? Is that blue-blooded
Ah,
Ateneo guy in you just like cringing right now?
nasa point na ako na kung kahit sino manalo, masama loob ko. So,
Well, fair, fair, fair. Uh,
objectively, Lasal.
so the pool of players are the LaSalle and UP guys from their last 3 final series. Okay? So we can pick Green Archers and Fighting Maroons from seasons 86, 87, and 88. 5 for UP, 5 for DLSU from each of us. You get it?
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right.
Okay, okay. And again, to everyone watching and watching live with us, send in your comments as well. So, my first pick for UP from all the players they've had the last 3 seasons is Quentin Milora Brown. There are a lot of great options. You can go JD, you can go Francis Lopez, you can go Harold Alarcon, you can go CJ Cancino, Malik Diouf, but the way QMB plays, the way he can just settle things down, and the way he just finds a way to be such a strong safety net for his team. He's my number 1 pick. How about you? Your number 1 pick for LaSalle?
KQ, Kevin Kimball.
I mean, yeah, that goes
I mean,
without
I mean,
saying.
I mean, I mean, that's an obvious thing.
Generational talent. One of the greatest to
the,
ever lace them up. Say less.
the
Say less.
the greatest to suit up for the Green Archer since Ben Mbala.
Mm.
Hot takes, light? Not really. Actually, no, not really. I don't think
No,
so.
not at all. Greatest
Not a
since
hot
Ben.
take. Yeah, I think so. Benji Paras.
A
I
hot
wish,
take
I
for
wish.
a hot take would be to say KQ was better than Ben. Are you guys ready for that? No. Okay, let's not go there.
Hindi, maaga
Okay,
pa,
my
maaga pa, maaga pa.
my next pick for DLSU naman, since you already took KQ, I'm gonna go Mike Phillips.
Yeah.
Mike Phillips. All right. You, who's your next pick from UP naman?
From UP. Though what could have been Xavier Lucero.
Wait, no, he was in the season.
Last
He
three.
wasn't in the
Last
He
three.
wasn't in the season 86 roster.
Wala na ba? 86?
Wala na. 85
Tama,
was his
sure
last
ka?
season.
Sure
Yeah,
ka
I
ba?
swear. Remember he got injured 85 and that's how
Teka,
his UAP career ended.
let me do a quick Google search ah. Ah, shucks,
Bro, I
84.
swear. Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
my God,
84,
mali
85
ako.
siya.
Okay. Okay, sige. Never mind. Screw that. Screw my memory. Let's go with Francis Lopez.
Wow. Over
Yep.
my.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I think
okay.
so.
All right, my next pick from UP. Yeah, JD Kagulangan.
Yeah.
Have to at this point. JD Kagulangan. Ultimate floor general. Okay, your next pick from DLSU naman.
Oh my God, 86, 87, 88. Damn it, ang ganda kasi ng core ng DLSU eh. It's still the same guys, relatively. Problema ako ah. Kasi Gian talaga eh. Evan. Actually, pwede si Evan. Not the... You know, sige, let's do it. Jacob Cortez na agad. Let's
That's
do
not
it
a
na.
bad pick at all. Do you see what he's doing right now in the
No,
Final Four?
I mas na-hurt ako na nag-isip pa ako na where do I include Jacob Cortez now? Because yeah, he's earned it na. He's earned it.
Okay. My next pick. So I'm picking for DLSU this time, right?
Yes. That's number 4.
This is tough. Yeah, Evan Nelly.
Yeah.
Another floor general. Evan Nelly. Yeah. Okay. Your turn next for UP.
For UP, so it's QMB, Francis Lopez. You know what? Let's go big. Let's take Malik Diouf.
Oh, absolutely. You have to
Let's
go
let's
Malik
let's let's
Diouf.
go there. It has to be at this point.
I mean, league MVP, one of the greatest defensive players we've ever seen in the UAAP as well. Yeah, good pick, Malik. So my next pick from UP naman, this is where it gets tricky, right? Because the main top option guys are off the board. Well, I'm gonna pick Harold Alarcon, especially after the way he performed today. Absolutely, Harold Alarcon. He also needs a nickname. What's a good nickname for Harold Alarcon?
Kasi puro nakikita ko kay Harold, puro Mamba mentality. Parang bro, let's move away from the Kobe comparisons. Medyo something
uh,
different. Kaya ang hirap mag-isip for Harold eh.
Smooth criminal.
Parang ayoko yun.
Hmm.
For Harold,
Silent
nicknames?
assassin.
Pero hindi siya silent eh.
I guess so.
Hindi siya
Yeah, not
silent
really
eh.
silent. He's more smooth than silent.
Oo eh. So, pwedeng smooth criminal, pero brother, smooth operator, I don't know.
K-pop demon hunter. Um.
Buisit.
By the way, speaking of memes, I don't get this Jacob Cortez meme that's going around of some guy. I'll need you to explain everything. I need you to explain it to me.
Which one to?
Yung I see. I don't even know. Like it's this. Um. Okay, I'll send you a picture later off the
Sige,
record.
sige.
Okay.
Sige, sige.
It's your turn. You're picking for DLSU now or UP?
DLSU. So it's gonna be the
Okay.
last guy for DLSU.
Wait. Didn't you pick?
Wait, I
Who'd you
went with
pick
Malik.
last?
Malik yung
Ah,
last ko.
okay. So you're for DLSU now.
So I'm gonna DLSU. Ooh wee. Who do I go to? Rocking the si Raul Onggian. Anyways, Oh my god, it's not coming to my head. Siguro si Polycarps.
Policarpio. Ha.
Blue guy.
Ha. Yeah, and very talented. Has the ability to get to the rim, knock down shots. Policarpio is a good pick. Let's see. And yes, it's the Jano Gibbs one, I think. Although I just can't quite comprehend the meme right now. So next DLSU guy for me also, no?
Yes.
Healthy Kian Baklan.
Vic just had a heart attack right now.
The mystic ball's been working as of late. Good for him. Okay, you're next for who'd you pick last? UP or LaSalle? You picked
LaSalle, so UP.
yeah. UP, yeah.
UP. I think now is the time to go with Raylan Torres. Controversial? Yes. But talented both ways. He can score sometimes, yes. But if you want defense and you want a transition guy, I think Raylan Torres has to be it.
I'm gonna go CJ Cancino.
Yeah, that's right. I was stupid.
Draft steal, shall we say? Okay, let's do a one pick more each. Let's call it a wrap after that since it's getting pretty
One
late.
pick.
So
Okay.
from ano naman, DLSU naman.
From DLSU. DLSU. 86, 87, 88. You know, sige, I'll give him his flowers now. EJ Goliana, I like how he plays. As in, mag-fit siya. With that lineup, I think so.
Okay. EJ Golian, I see it. I'm gonna go Earl Abadam. Has really been stellar.
Fair.
Stellar, like every game you're gonna see him produce, but he seems to be able to step up when his team needs it. So, yeah, Earl
Super
na.
fair. Super
Super
fair.
fair. All right. Well, Karl, thanks so much for joining me, man. It's always a pleasure to have you here. It's always great to have you in the pod. Thanks to everyone who tuned in live. You guys make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review, and make sure to tune in to the upcoming episodes as well because we'll have more to come as we enter the twilight zone of the college basketball season, particularly the UAP. Anything you've got coming up, Karl?
Do I have anything coming up? No, but I do want to give a shout out to the Ateneo Lady, and di na sila Lady Eagles, kasalanan ko yun. Ateneo Blue Eagles women's basketball team. You girls fought so hard this season. I was there for the NU game. It was heartbreaking. I my heart broke as well. Pero shout outs to you guys. Casey, sina Millie Malagar, everyone, the entire team. Even yung cousin ko, by extension, kasi si Gracie Batungbacal, shouts out to her. Congrats on a stellar collegiate career, and Sandra Villacruz, and I think si Monique Fetalvero. So, congrats to you guys. I hope you enjoy the remainder of your college years. And for me personally, wala, just follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at BlackMambito24. That's BlackMambito24. That's it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, you guys make sure to follow Karl, and we'll be having him back here in the podcast again. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Much love.